Let's bring in Tony Dungy, who's held that trophy before, part of Football Night in America's coverage of Super Bowl 49. Tony, where do you want to start?
Well, it was a tremendous game, and we previewed on our pregame show the anniversary of the 1 yard short Rams and Tennessee Titans, and it was the same thing. 1 yard is the difference in the game, and for it to come down to that between two unbelievable teams, I guess it was fitting. Everybody's going to talk about the play in that 1 yard, but I think what Rob Gronkowski just said there and what you asked him about going against that defense, you can't forget that they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, put up 28 points against the number one scoring defense in football. You have to give that New England offense and that game plan a lot of credit.
Yeah, the Seahawks became the first team in history to blow at least a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, losing a Super Bowl. But the play at the goal line, Tony, and I know that post-game, you and Rodney and Coach Harbaugh discussed this. I'm trying to understand the logic there because I'm down there underneath the goalpost, and I just assume it's either Russell Wilson or it's going to be Marshawn Lynch. Why a pass play in that moment?
Well, I heard Pete Carroll's explanation, and he said he felt they could throw it there. If they didn't get it, now they had a chance to run 2 times. They could run on third down, call their timeout, and run on fourth down. So you kind of understand the logic, but the way the game had gone, the momentum they've got there, Marshawn just made 4 yards on the last run. I think you get in, you bring your big bodies in, you give the ball to Marshawn, and everybody believes he's going to get in there. You just hate to not have a chance to fire your big weapon in that spot. So as it turns out, I think it was just the wrong call.
Well, if you're going to have a passing play, then I'm going to throw a fade. I'm not throwing something over the middle that could get tipped and could get intercepted. That if you want to pass it, throw to Matthews, outside. But if not, I run Marshawn Lynch. I force the Patriots to take a timeout if he doesn't get in. It just didn't make sense. The risk and the reward did not make sense, Tone.
I agree, and we all are sitting there in hindsight 2020 saying that. I think Pete Carroll this morning would say that in hindsight. You're in the moment. You think you're making a logical decision. I've done that as a coach. I've made decisions that you say afterwards, what was I thinking? Like kicking off to Devin Hester. I had 2 weeks to think about that and did the wrong thing. So it happens. It's part of the game. And Seattle will move on, and they'll bounce back. But this will be a tough one to swallow.
But whose call is that? Was that the
head coach?
It ends
up being the head coach's call. Your offensive coordinator is sending it in. But, you tell them right here. After Marshawn runs it to the 1, makes that 4-yard gain, you say, hey, we're going to run it 3 times here, or I want to run the ball here, or put it in Marshawn's hands. It's just it eventually comes back to the head coach.
Who should have been MVP?
Rodney called Julian Edelman before the game.
Yeah.
I thought Edelman was sensational. The quarterbacks usually get it in those situations. You can't argue with, 4 touchdown passes, everything Tom did. But Edelman made play after play after play. The biggest play of the game was the 3rd and 14 when he hangs on to the ball when Cam Chancellor rocked him. If they have to punt the ball there, none of this happens. The touchdown catch to put them ahead and big plays all the way through, I would have maybe split it with Edelman and Tom.
This change Brady's place in history? Can you look at him as the greatest quarterback of all time?
Well, you're going to put him in the conversation now because of the 4 wins. If it had gone to 3-3, it would have been completely different. So, yes, the argument today is much different than if New England hadn't intercepted that ball, and that's the shame of it. Tom Brady could have played exactly the same, and because New England intercepts the ball, we can talk about it where we wouldn't otherwise. So, but yes, to answer your question, yes, he's in the conversation with Montana and Bradshaw, in my opinion, when you're talking 4 Super Bowls.
We spent a lot of time talking about this during the week, Deflategate, and then Bob Costas sat down with Tom Brady, an interview that was taped earlier in the week but aired on Super Bowl Sunday. And Bob gave Tom every opportunity to say he had nothing to do with Deflategate. And as we're watching that interview, collectively, we, I think, turned to each other and said the same thing. We were stunned with that Tom Brady had the opportunity to say, look, I know nothing about this. Does this have any stain on this Super Bowl, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ongoing story. The interview looks very bad, and I still say we have to let the facts play out. It's hard for all of us sitting there to say Bob Costas had this conversation with Tom. He didn't answer the question. Had the commissioner or the NFL talked to Tom and gotten that same response, where would they be? I think they've got to talk to Tom Brady. They've got to talk to Bill Belichick. The investigation has to go on. Hopefully, there's nothing that implicates the Patriots, but if there is, it definitely is going to stain not only Tom, but the whole organization.
Of these two teams, which one's more likely to be back in the Super Bowl?
Well, I think they both have a shot because of the way they're constructed. Tom Brady's going to play 4 or 5 more years. He's going to continue to play at a high level. Coach Belichick will still orchestrate that, get different parts going. Seattle is young. They've got another chance. Their big watershed moment is going to be when they have to sign Russell Wilson to the big contract. Then they're going to lose some folks. But they've got young talent. Both these teams, I think, could be back next year.
Safe travels, Tony. Did a great job yesterday.
Thank you. It was fun, DP.
Tony Dungy from Football Night in America.